What's going on, everybody? My name is Wesley, and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about phishing. And no, not that kind of phishing. Let's dive in. Alright, so here we are. This is phishing.org. What is phishing? They're exactly answering that question. So I'm going to go ahead and read it to you. Phishing is a cybercrime in which a target or targets are contacted by email, telephone, or text message by someone posing as a legitimate institution to lure individuals into providing sensitive data such as personally identifiable information, banking and credit card details, and passwords. This information is then used to access important accounts and can result in identity theft and financial loss. One thing that I would like to do is understand when phishing became a thing. So let's check it out. This website even has the history of phishing. So let's take a look and see what they got. So the history of phishing, as widespread and well known as phishing is now, hasn't been around forever, although the practice originated sometime around the year 1995. Obviously, this is kind of where computers and such kind of became a thing. People started buying them, so on and so forth. These types of scams were not commonly known by everyday people until nearly 10 years later, which is 2005. But technically, if we go back to this other tab here, we can see that the first phishing lawsuit was filed in 2004 against a California teenager who created the imitation of the website America Online. With this fake website, he was able to gain sensitive information from users and access the credit card details to withdraw money from their accounts. Other than email and website phishing, there's also, I don't know how to pronounce this, I'm going to say vishing, voice phishing, smishing, SMS phishing, and several other phishing techniques cyber criminals are constantly coming up with. That's actually pretty interesting. I didn't even know there was other forms of so-called phishing or vishing or smishing or whatever. All right, so now we're getting into why do hackers phish? Like, what's the purpose? What do they gain from it? And we'll go back to this other piece that we read, and it kind of talked about it. There was a California teenager who created the imitation of a website, American Online. We already read through that. But he was able to gain sensitive information from users and access the credit card details to withdraw money from their accounts. So that kind of gives you an understanding of, why do they phish? What are they trying to do? What are they trying to gain? They're trying to gain your money. The reality is, and I try to say this to people who ask, like, Wesley, you've been in IT for a long time, so like, what is it I should do to protect myself against these kind of threats? And the reality is, it's just stuff people don't like to do. It's, don't use rememberable passwords. That sucks, but it's just unfortunately the truth. You can use password managers, but there's one single source of truth, and that is you are never safe. Never. You can have locks on your door, but people can kick in a door. You can put longer screws into your the thing that your door gets into, but even then, people can still get in. You know what I mean? They can use a battering ram. They can break windows. If you have a door with a glass window, they can just bust the glass. And then, you see that in movies all the time. People just break that little pane of glass and then turn around and unlock the door. Which to me personally, I think is the dumbest thing to have windows or glass on your actual door close to where you can get to the lock. I think it's the dumbest thing to do. But why do they phish? What's the purpose? They want to steal your identity, they want to steal your money, all those kinds of things. Another more direct question: am I susceptible to being phished? The answer is yes. If you hear reports online or through the news that certain companies have been hacked, that means if you have credentials in that company's database, then your email, your password for that website has been leaked. Now, that doesn't mean that every part of your identity has been stolen. It just means that what they're going to do, if you look up like a YouTube video of any kind of how to hack, somebody's email, they're going to just basically try to use, sophisticated tables and basically anything that's guessable, anything about you, personal information, they can piece it together and try to guess that as a password. But if they get information, and for example, hackers, they can buy your information online. If a company gets basically hacked, their database gets hacked, and they get that information, what they do is they sell that information, and then hackers can get that, and then all they're going to do is they're going to go and they're going to try to go into every single website possible with that information to see what works. And that's all they're going to do. It's a numbers game. They're going to see who's got the low-lying fruit, who's the one that's using the same password everywhere. I'm not saying I'm not victim of the same thing. We're all human. We all use similar passwords. It's easy to remember, right? However, I've started to transition myself over to using a password manager, and even then some, trying to use separate emails. And the reason why that is I know people are like, that's a lot to track, Wesley. You expect me to do that? No, but the reality is you need to do something to protect yourself. And sometimes you have to go to extreme lengths, such as, you hear of military grade encryption, so far as to sometimes codes are changed on a daily basis, every 6 hours, every 48 hours, every week, every month, whatever the case is, they will take the necessary steps to ensure the security of whatever the assets are. And in the case of a consumer, you need to do whatever you can to do the same. And that starts with a password manager. It starts with acknowledging the reality that you're just going to have to take some steps, take the time, and make new emails, make sure to set something up to where you change the passwords every once in a while. Don't use a very guessable password. These are things that you can do to protect yourself, which leads into the next question. How do I protect myself against phishing? And that is, don't be low-lying fruit. Don't have guessable passwords. Don't use the same password in every single account. Don't use the same password twice. That's a basic principle. And, reset your passwords as much as you can. Things that you access every day, you want to change those passwords at least once a month. I would say maybe more than that, but you get the point. You don't want to be in a place where if something happens, you're going to be changing your password. And keep an eye on the accounts that you have, those companies. Keep them in your forefront. If you see anything in the news, keep an eye on those companies and their security. And if they ever get hacked, you just want to change the password. It's not complicated. It's just sometimes it can be a lot to do, but it's necessary if you want to try to keep yourself safe. But then again, there is statistics that show the reality is the majority of people are fine. It is just a numbers game. If hackers can't guess your information, if your password that they got from one company doesn't work for the hundreds of other companies they try, you're fine. But also, it's a matter of they're really trying to focus on the people that have easy guessable passwords. That's just it. You'll look up, a bunch of content, and hackers say that all the time. So just keep in mind, but that is what is phishing. But if you want an idea of kind of the primary one, which emails, people hear that all the time at work, let's take a look. So here is social engineering red flags, right? So, for example, let's just use the company I work at, Pioneer RX, right? So that company right there, if I were to get an email from the CEO to tell me that I need to wire a certain amount, that's kind of dumb, right? Because I'm not accounting. That's a red flag for me immediately, right? Number one. But even if I were accounting department, I would, even if I was the CFO, if I got an email from that person and his office is down the hall from me, right across the way or whatever, I would go walk over there and say, did you send this email? He's gonna be like, no, heck no, I didn't. That's phishing. They're going to try to duplicate all of your organization's regular pieces of information to make it look similar. They're going to make links look similar. As you can tell here, it's going to look like a legitimate link. They're going to make a website that looks exactly like your company's website. Anything that looks normal to you, they're going to try to replicate that. Even if they hack into people's computers, they don't have to do anything but observe. What is your normal? That goes into social engineering. When you talk to people, sometimes humans are the worst enemy to security, because when you're using, and I want to check myself here, social engineering. So basically, it's a social engineering is the psychological manipulation of people into performing actions or divulging confidential information. But the reality is, it may not even be confidential information. It could just be regular information of somebody's schedule, who normally does a certain route, who do you normally see every day. Like, these are things that the minute somebody sees something that's out of the norm, they're going to detect something is wrong. So somebody who does and uses social engineering would want to keep everything as normal as possible, right? And most of the time, it's not even just that, because some companies with some employees, everything changes every single day, or you're just not in control of much of anything. So the minute you see something different, you don't really pay much mind to it. And so that's also an issue as well. And there's one example of this primarily you can look up is the CIA director. I can't remember who it was or how long ago it was, but you can just Google CIA director hacked. Basically, they used social engineering. They hacked his Verizon account. They got his email information. And they hacked his AOL account. They did not actually do physical coding and all that stuff you see in movies. They didn't do any of that hacking. They literally just used social engineering, contacted Verizon, and then got his information, and then was able to... I can't remember the full details, just Google it, but essentially they use social engineering to hack the email, the AOL account of the CIA director. I mean, it doesn't mean that he's not smart enough to keep himself secure from threats, but it just means that anybody is susceptible to phishing. So hopefully you enjoyed this content. I appreciate you for watching. If you made it this far, thank you again. Consider subscribing if you like videos like this. I'm going to basically just be making more content that kind of divulges into the things that I understand and know, and hopefully to help people like you. So thank you. Leave a like and comment down below. Share this video with somebody that you think is super important. This is a huge topic, and I think it's definitely shareable, so definitely share this. And I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.